Learn how to knit stretchy rib stitches. These stitches are used in many things. Today we're going to learn the 1x1 and the 2x2 rib stitch. You'll learn about multiples and we'll dive into a pattern and making this nice headband for you in today's How to Knit series, the 1x1 and 2x2 rib stitch. Learning for Complete Beginners, Lesson 4. Welcome to GoodKnit Kisses. We're all about helping you stitch your love and love your stitches. To make the rib stitch, you don't have to use this super bulky 6-weight yarn that I'm using here. You can use a smaller yarn and smaller needles. I happen to be using a US 11 needle on this one over here, and actually it's the same yarn over here, and I'm using a US 15 needle. Either one is fine. You can even use a 13 in between, and they all work really well. It is recommended for an 11 with this yarn. The yarn I'm using today is Bernat Softy Chunky, and this is color Gray Heather. It is, again, a super bulky 6-weight yarn, and the recommended needles is the US 11, which is an 8mm needle. If you are going to work the pattern, you'll click down in the links below to get that, and you're going to need a measuring tape, a tapestry needle for weaving in the ends, and also scissors, which brings me to the point we're going to go over the stitches first, and then I will lead you through the entire pattern, and we'll also use our tapestry needle, and I will show you how to sew in the ends together. So you're actually going to learn a new step in learning how to read patterns and a sewing technique here as well, so you get it to follow along in the pattern. We're also going to bind off in pattern in this particular tutorial, so you get a lot of things packed in here. If you want the basics, we'll put them right in here in the very beginning, so stay tuned. Rib stitches are great because they are so nice and stretchy and such a pretty textural stitch. You've got a lot of 3-dimension effect in it and nice and stretchy. So we have two different ones here, 1x1 and 2x2. The first number is always the number of columns of stitches that are right next to each other, and then the second number is the columns of purls. So in this one, I have one column of knit followed by a column of purl, and we call that 1x1, or it looks like 1x1. And then over here, we have a 2x2, where it's 2 columns of knit followed by 2 columns of purl. You can change it up and do a 3x3, where there's 3 knits together and 3 purls together for an even wider look than this, or say you want to do 3 columns of knits here and then maybe a skinnier part of purls here. So you can change that up however you like. So let's jump into how you work one of these. Okay, so to begin, you need to have your knitting already on there. We're just going to go in how you do it, and then we'll get into starting it from scratch here in a moment after I demonstrate. So it's a 2-row repeat. The first row, the right side row, is how you want to have it set up to where it's nice and even. You start off your pattern here with a multiple of the stitches that you want, however many knits and then purls, and then you repeat that throughout, and then you want to have the same number of knits you started with for the last few stitches. So let's just get into this one here. It's a 1x1, so I have an odd number casted on. I've got 15 on this one, and I'm just going to knit this first stitch, and then I want to purl the next stitch. So we're just going to put our yarn in front and purl that stitch. And so I'm going to repeat that throughout until the very end, and then I just need to make sure that I have 1 stitch left over and knit that stitch. So go ahead and put my yarn to the back and knit again, and put my yarn to the front and purl again. Okay, so you would continue working that all the way down. Now you don't have to follow me right away, but you can, and pause your video. I'm just going to chat for a moment. Make sure that when you're working your knitting that you're putting your yarn forward and back as you go, because if you accidentally leave it in the front and you purled, and then I go on to knit the next stitch, I'm going to cause a yarn over. Okay, I'm going to cause an increase, and we have gone over that in previous lessons. So make sure that you are not adding in your stitches, or your ribbing is going to stop looking like ribbing and it's going to start looking like something else. So let's just get to the end and then I'll show you what row 2 looks like. Okay, so the end, let's see, I've got one last stitch here and we're just going to knit that last stitch. Now when we turn it over, we do the opposite for the 1 by 1. We're going to put our yarn in the front and we're going to purl that stitch. So this was a purl on the back side because we had a knit on the front side. So I said back side, it's the wrong side. So we're just going to purl that first stitch. And then you can see that the very next one is a knit stitch. So we're going to put our yarn to the back and we're going to knit it. And then you keep repeating that. Purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. So you just continue that on. So if you do have to put this down and you don't finish the row, all you have to do is look at your knitting and see what comes next. If it's got the little scarf thing on it, it's a purl. If it's got the little V-shaped stitch here, it's a knit. So you just keep working until the last stitch and you can see that that one is going to be a purl stitch. So that is the 1 by 1 ribbing. Now let's look at the 2 by 2. This one is the same thing. It starts off with a knit stitch on the first row. You knit the first stitch and then you knit the second stitch. Then we put our yarn to the front and we're going to purl. And you can see the 2 purl stitches here because I've already got this one started. Purl 1 and 2. And then you're going to repeat those 4 stitches. You put the yarn to the back and you knit 1, knit 2, put the yarn to the front, purl 1, purl 2. And this one actually has 14 stitches on it, so it has one less than that last sample. Put your yarn to the back, and I'm going to repeat those 4 one more time. So we got knit 2 stitches, yarn to the front, purl 2, and then you want to be repeating the knit stitches that you began with. So we need to have 2 stitches left over at the end. Put the yarn to the back and knit those. Okay? And then row 2 just repeats it in an opposite way. So you're going to flip that over on the wrong side and you begin by purling 2. And then from here on out, you're just repeating the same 4 stitches that you did before where you knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, and so on. And then you end on the purl 2. So yarn to the back, knit 2, yarn to the front, purl 2. And continue going. So, let's start this project from the very beginning. Go ahead and grab your yarn and supplies. Pause your video, and when you're ready, we will start by casting on for our headband. See you in a moment. So we're not going to jump into casting on just yet. I want to go over the pattern, and we are stepping up our pattern reading level this week. On lessons 1 and 2, we did cover knit stitches and purl stitches, casting on and binding off. So for slower tutorials and this pattern, go click down in the links below. This is an easy rated pattern. And of course, the yarn we've gone over, this is kind of a lighter on the super bulky 6-weight yarn. So if you did have a 5, that's fine too. This is Bernat Softy Chunky Color Gray Heather. The needles I am using US 11 or 8 millimeter. They can be straight or circular. I happen to be using Knitter's Pride Dreams in this video, but you don't have to use circular needles. You need a tapestry needle for weaving in your tails, And a measuring tape is especially needed because you're going to measure around your head, and you can see where I've measured around covering the ears. On my head, I measured 24 inches all the way around, and then I subtracted 2 inches to get the knit length that I'm going to work to. And I do talk about that on the next page. Let's jump over. We talk about the headband length here and how to measure that. And we do have some information on gauge here. You don't really need to know that, but the measurement is about 3 inches wide by 22 inches around for the finished piece. I am showing some abbreviations that we're going to be working through in this pattern, so you are going to start seeing patterns with that in there. Let's jump to the ribbing section, and it talks about how we're working with 2x2 ribbing. Knit 2, purl 2 is used in the pattern, and in a ribbing pattern, the first set of numbers here, it refers to the knits, and the second number refers to the purls, and then you're going to refer to that first number again to add on extra stitches. So we have this nice chart here for you. So if you want to change your knitting pattern to something different, we've got the cast on stitches that are recommended to get the right finished width for this particular project. So if you want to do the 2x2 and the pattern we're working on here, you're casting on 14 stitches and you get 3 inches on the width, or 7.6 centimeters. Now, if you want to try the 1x1, you can cast on 15 stitches and you get approximately 3¼ inch wide headband there. Okay. If you want to do the 1x1, you cast on 15 stitches and get 3¼ wide width of headband, or 8.25 centimeters. Also, if you cast on 15 stitches, you can also get either one of these other 2 ribbing patterns, which is a 3x3 or a 3x1. So that means on this first one, you would knit 1, purl 1, and in the very last stitch that you have remaining, you knit 1. On the 3x3, you're going to knit 3, purl 3, and then the very last 3 stitches, you're going to knit 3. Same thing on this one, you're going to knit 3 and then purl 1 and repeat that, and then the very last 3 stitches are going to be knit. And then we talked about the 2x2 on that one. So we're going to dive into the pattern and do that. This is the main instruction page. You've got your cast on your stitches, make changes according to the chart on the other page, but this is just spelling out what I've already gone over. Row 1 is the right side. You're going to knit 2 and then purl 2 and repeat. See that little asterisk? We're going to go to that very beginning here, and you repeat this twice more, okay? And then the last 2 stitches, you knit 2. Then the wrong side, row 2, you're going to purl 2 and then knit 2. So you're doing the opposite stitch you did before. Repeat that across twice more, and then purl 2 for the last 2 stitches. Then you're just going to repeat those rows until you get your desired length. My sample, I'm knitting to 22 inches. Your number may be different. So if you measure your head and your head is 18 inches all around, you'll want to knit to 16 inches, okay? And then we're going to bind off in pattern. I'll show you how to do that here. You're going to leave a long tail for seaming, and then I'm going to show you how to sew these ends together so you don't have to guess on how to do it. And then you're going to weave in the ends, and that's the whole pattern. So let's jump in to do that right now. Okay, a reminder for our long tail cast on, you're going to pull out 3 times the width of your project and also leave a tail. So it's about 3 inches wide. So I'm going to pull out, I've got my tail, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to start, put the tail towards you and the ball to the back. You can either put in a slip knot here, or you can leave the slip knot out, okay? So let's just put that on as our first stitch. And I am going to do the 2x2 ribbing. So I'm going to cast on 14 stitches. For the other ones, you can cast on 15 if you're working with this weight of yarn and this size needle. We're going to split that yarn, the balls at the back, tail at the front, split it up, pull it back like a slingshot. You're going to scoop up at the thumb, go down at the finger, down at the thumb, and let it go. Pull it tighter, not too tight again, so it won't slip off, but not so much so that it won't slide for you, okay? Let's do that again. Pull back and go up at the thumb, down at the finger, down at the thumb, let it go, okay? Go ahead and cast on all your stitches. Pause your video, and I will meet you for row 1. See you soon. Row 1 of our 2x2 ribbing, we're going to knit 2 stitches, put in our stitch, yarn over, pull through, take the old one off, go into the next stitch, knit that stitch, pull through, old one off. I'm going to go put our yarn to the front, and now we're going to purl 2. Our yarn in the front of that stitch, yarn over, push through to get that new stitch, let the old fall off, do that again, put the yarn in the front, purl by yarning over and push that stitch through. Okay, so we've got knit 2, purl 2. We're going to repeat that, put our yarn to the back, knit 2, 1 and 2, yarn to the front, purl 2, okay, so we repeated it once. Now we're going to repeat it one more time. Put the yarn to the back, knit 2, yarn to the front, purl 2, okay, we have 2 stitches left. Put the yarn to the back, and you're going to knit those 2. So you're repeating the first stitches that you did that were knit. Okay, so this applies to any of the stitch patterns that you did. Okay, so now we're just going to knit the knits and purl the purls. That's how it's easy to remember on all the following rows. So row 2, we turn it over. This is the wrong side. So we've got 2 purl stitches that we need to do. So we're just going to put our needle in front, purl that stitch, and then go to the next one, purl that stitch, yarn to the back. We don't want to get an accidental increase here. And now we knit 2. And those 4 stitches get repeated twice. So we're going to yarn forward, purl 2, and yarn to the back, and knit 2. That's the first repeat, and you can see how the columns are now lining up. Yarn to the front, purl 2, 1, 2, and yarn to the back, knit 2, 1, 2, and repeat the last 2 stitches that you did in the very beginning. So those are purls, yarn to the front, and you can see that there's a purl stitch here with that little scarf on the front, little purl bump. So purl 1 and purl 2. Go to the right side, and you can see those columns already nicely shaping up. They look really good. So you're just going to continue repeating that until you have the desired length. I'm going to work until I have 22 inches. I will see you soon. So I've got my knitting length all laid out on a flat surface, and I pull out my measuring tape, and at the other end I'm pulling out the length that I want to go to. Remember, I measured around, I had 24 inches, and I'm taking off 2 or 2.5 inches. So I want to put this line here on the right side right on the 22, and if you want centimeters, this is 56 centimeters. So put it right there, and then lay this out. Pull it, but don't overstretch it. Just kind of lay it till it's flat and it stops kind of shrinking in. All right, so now I'm ready. I want to start binding off. To bind off in pattern, you simply knit the knits and purl the purls before you pull that bind off stitch over itself. So what I mean is, on this one we've got 2 knits, so it's pretty simple. We just knit, the first one. You see the second one is supposed to be a knit stitch, so go ahead and knit that. Then we're going to pass the first stitch over the second, and that's one stitch bound off. Now we want to continue knitting in pattern, so the next stitch is a purl stitch. You can see that, so you're just going to put your yarn forward and purl that stitch, and then now you can pass that first stitch over the second. Remember, you can put your yarn to the back if it's easier that way. So we're just going to pass that stitch over, and our next stitch is a purl stitch, so go ahead and purl that. So you're just working that first stitch that you come across in whatever way it would have been worked in your pattern, and that's how you knit off in pattern or bind off in pattern. It's also called casting off as well. So we're just knitting that stitch over, or lifting it, the first stitch over the second, and then now we're on to knits. So we put our yarn to the back, knit that stitch, and move that stitch over the last, knit again, pass that over, bound off several stitches now. Just keep going and pause your video as you need to. And then when you get down to the last two stitches, unpause your video and we'll work those together. Okay, knit that stitch over. We're just going to pull this on through. Go ahead and pull out 3 times the width that you're going to be sewing. So I'm just going to pull across. We've got 1 width, 2, and 3, plus a little tail. Go ahead and cut that yarn, and then now you can just pull that on through. You should have 2 tails. One is long and one is short. The short side is on your cast on edge. Let's go ahead and weave that tail in right now. It's going to be easier to do that now. Go ahead and thread that through, and I have a trick for weaving in tails for ribbing. So I'm going to turn it over onto the wrong side. The right side is the one where it has the 2 edges of knit stitch columns here, and then the 2 in the middle. Let's turn it over and work our yarn over to this column. You can go into the middle of the column here, or you can go to the this side over here. So just go up and under here. Okay, so I'm in between the 2, and I'm going to go behind this first stitch. You see the 2 legs of this V stitch here that's doing that. We're going to go behind the first leg of the stitch and in the middle. So we're behind it and going up in the middle and pulling our yarn through. Okay, so then I'm going to have my yarn come back through, because I had gone all the way over. I'm just getting this into the right position. So now I'm going to go up to this next column, and we're going to go behind it and up through the middle again. Okay, now when we pull through, it makes this line follow this line here with our tail. So we're going to go up to the next one, and we'll just do several at a time here. So go behind the next one and up through the middle, and then whip your needle all the way around and go behind the next one up and through the middle, and keep doing it over and over again, just kind of whipping around your tapestry needle. Do several and then pull up. You can see it just guides that yarn right up, and I kind of stretch out my knitting, and it really hides in there pretty well. Okay, so just do a few more of those. Okay, and you can come back down, just kind of turn around. I just kind of go underneath the leg of the stitch here to the other side, and then you can just go through a few more of these and pull on your yarn and trim it. We're going to sew the end of our headband up to make it follow in a pattern just like this one here. So we're going to thread our needle through. I've got my wrong sides together, so the right side that I want, the pretty side, is going to be on the outside. This edge here is my cast on edge. This here is my cast off or bind off edge. We're going to put the 2 of them together. I have my yarn coming from my bind off edge, and then I'm going to come up through this very first stitch. You've got 2 knit columns here. We're going to go to the outside knit column, and we're going to go to the very last stitch here. So you're kind of coming up between this last V-stitch, just halfway, okay? Come through there, and it connects the 2 pieces. And now I want to go to my first knit column on my bind off edge. And so we're just going through both of those stitches right there. Go all the way through. So you're coming the back of that stitch through both of them and coming up towards the outside here. All right, now we're going to come down here, and on the cast on edge, we're going to come through sort of half stitches, and then we're going to go through whole stitches on the bind off edge. So it's going to take me just a moment to show you, and then you'll just continue repeating all the way down. So we're going to go back to where our yarn came out before, halfway in between this first column, and then we're going to come up through the middle of this second column here. So there's another column right here, and you see that V-shaped stitch. We're just right along the edge of where the cast on edge is. Pull through, and then up here, this is our bind off edge. We're just going to go behind this very first stitch that has that V-shaped stitch and come through the whole thing, okay? Let's see. Yeah, that's the first one. Go through the whole thing. And then now you can come down here and you can see where this long yarn is coming from. That's that halfway point. So we're going to go down through the middle of this column here, of the knit column, and then we're going to come up halfway between this purl stitch and this column right here. Okay? So you're always catching 2 on each side. It's just you're doing halfway over here and a full one up here. If I made them both full on each one, it actually ends up jogging the stitches over and it doesn't actually look right. Let's pull that on through. And I know it's the same color, but I'm trying to just leave the yarn long so you can really see it. Okay? And then we're going to come up to the top. You can see where you came out from before. So just go down in that area and then come through both of these stitches. You can see the V-shaped stitch underneath this purl bump here. We're just coming underneath there, pulling through both stitches. It's actually just one stitch. We're just going through both legs of the stitch. And then come back down here and you can see where one was coming out. You're just going to go down into that spot there. So you're going down through halfway of that stitch, and then now you're coming up through this one. And you can see this purl bump on this side, so you know you're doing it right because you're going to always wrap around these purl bump stitches here. So we'll go around, okay, and then come up, and you can see where I'm going to go down where this long piece came out, and then here's another one of these purl bumps. So here we go. We're grabbing both of these legs and going through. Let's come back to this side, and we're going to catch half where we came out before, and then we're going to go halfway in this knit column. And now it's getting a little bit more familiar to you. So we did the half over here, we're going to do the whole up here, and so these knit columns are going to be really easy to spot. We're going to go through the whole thing, come back down, you go through half again, come up, go through the whole, come back down, half knit, half purl, come up, you're going to go through the whole, and I'm coming above this edge, okay? This is the bind off edge. So the whole, come down, half. Just keep going, and when we are done, we're going to pull it all this tautness. Now we can actually do that now if you want, so go ahead and kind of pull on it, and you can just pull the slack like this. You can see how those stitches are now lining up. So this is actually that stitch. And I'm using the same color here, but you can see how it disappears when it's the same color. So yes, you can pull this tighter as you go and begin, and I was keeping it loose so you could see it a little bit easier. All right, so, and then we just kind of pull on that and then keep going. Okay, so just continue moving forward with this, and we'll meet at the end here. See you in a moment. Up at the top, I just did this last or second to last full column, going down through the middle of this second column here and the middle of the first column over here. And now I need to go through completely this first column over here. So it goes out the back. And then I can come here and do that last half stitch. Okay, now before I weave in this tail, just the way we did in the very beginning, you can see it's a little bit wider. I'm just gonna go ahead and pull it, and it just kind of pulls out the extra slack there, and I can make sure it's the right consistency for my width here. And it is going to have a little bit of a seam back here, but it has such a nice look to it. Okay, so once I've got it to where I want it, you can just weave in your tail, just as we've done before. You can go into this seam because it does have some bulk to it. If you want to just do that, this is kind of a little cheater way to do it, but it's really easy. And then once you have it in several stitches, go ahead and kind of go back over itself and make sure it has a nice good connection to where it's not going to be wiggling its way out. So I like to kind of double back on itself and go through where I just was. Make sure it's in there pretty secure before I do anything else. There we go. So that's in there really well. Trim that off and you are done. Well, I hope you enjoyed learning about rib stitches and making a headband today on this video. Our next lesson is lesson 5, and you're going to be working with the seed stitch and learning how to make that. It is a great addition to your skills.
Thanks for joining us today, where we help you stitch your love and love your stitches. See you again soon.